Hi, Sophie.
Hi, Oliver.
Thank you for sharing that interview with me.
Thank you.
Sophie is an artist, a consultant, and a designer. So, Sophie, what are you curious about?
I'm just curious, about general in life. We really don't know what's next after this life or what's before, and so just make the best out of where we are now, and being curious about everything and experience everything we could. I think that's my curiosity.
And where did it start? Maybe talk a little bit about your design work.
Well, I guess I started with urban design. Did quite a few projects in terms of urban revitalization, creating space and create places that's not there before, and try to basically to kind of how can we tease out the best out of the place, so that could benefit for us as human beings, I guess, and for the community, and of course for the nature. So mostly what I say, if you ask me what I'm curious about, I'm curious about what was in that place, in terms of history, what people have done there, how people use the space, and how people can appreciate the space, and what's the potential of the place, basically everything about that place. Does that make sense?
Makes a lot of sense. And then, what was your role in those projects? What did you do?
I mean, maybe just an example. For example, the Washington DC Canal Park. I was a project manager, and I also was part of the design team who led the entire design. So what we do was actually pretty fascinating. It was like a buried canal in the city, Washington DC, and we really want to understand, the history of it. And it's not just like a covered canal, with all kinds of junks and dumpster, and now it's like a school parking. So how can we use the best of the place, and also understand, for instance, what the community needs. And so the whole design came out to really look into the sustainable aspect of it. So we actually try to build the most sustainable park we could ever create at that point in time, and hope that we can educate the kids, the communities, and also encourage people, for instance, to do biking and recycle the water, and not to be wasteful, but also enjoy the park and enjoy the nature. So we also create a fountain, but at the same time we want to attract as many people as possible to that park, and because that park also sort of situated in like a industrial area. So in the past there was crime rate issues and different issues. So how can we basically also look into the value of the real estate, and see how can we improve the neighborhood. So really also look into like building the park that everybody can use. So we also put into like ice skating rink, like a small pavilion, like architectural pavilion with a lantern glowing on the top, so we can project the artwork. Also we recycle the water system in the park, so we can use for toilet flush, for irrigation, for the fountain. So it turned out to be a very, very successful park, and everybody loves it.
You don't do that anymore.
No.
You don't do design anymore. You decided to change your career.
That's
so
right.
What did you do? Before we talk about maybe the motivation, let's talk about what did you change?
So I decided to be more on the business side, to learn generally how this other part of the world works. So I studied my MBA program at Wharton, and that's what I decided to do, and I got in and graduated.
Okay. And what did you find interesting about that other world? You talk about business, but what is business for you then?
I think business is about you're able to bring your passion and bring your purpose into what you do and make it a product, and you can also market it to the world. I guess it depends on how you define the world. It could be a small community, but how do you sustainably do that? Um, so it's not, you don't keep out your work in, you know, in your personal like studio or in your house, but really like how do you make it a product so everybody can enjoy it, but of course at the same time you do that, you do need make profit. So I think that other part is also fascinating for me to understand.
And then we have a third part
Third
in
part.
your life.
Okay,
Yeah.
what is it?
And that is art.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's
So
right.
you showed me some of your paintings, and maybe we'll show some here.
Mm-hmm.
What do you paint?
I basically do probably three types of work. I like drawings, just black and white drawings, and I do oil painting of streetscape because I'm an urban designer. I'm very attracted to the urban scenes, so I like to do streetscapes, and I also like to do collage. And for the collage work, I mostly look into my memory of the cities when I was a child in like a rural little town and how it changes over time.
Where did you grow up?
Oh, I grew up in Taiwan and in this little town called Judong. It's pretty actually near, it's mostly farms around me and the mountains and the rivers.
Okay, and you paint these landscapes?
Well, where I live was very interesting because the development. So you see the buildings start to get built, and also you look at the nature start to change. The ecology, the farms, they're all very different over time, and they change very quickly. So for me, that's like a very interesting way of how I look at the world. In a way, I'm feeling sad because I see a lot of natural part of the land disappear. But on the other hand, I see how this fascinating building get built and how that improve the convenience of life for human being. And so for me, there's a lot of conflicts, but there's also a lot of interesting. So I'm always looking into like how these two things can coexist together and to make the best out of each other. And I guess that's why I get into the urban design work. So that's the collage work I do in my painting.
Okay. And then you moved, obviously, we discovered that you moved from Taiwan to the US.
That's yes.
So how did that happen?
I think that's part of that my passion in urban design. So I came to Cornell to study landscape architecture and urban design,
Mm-hmm.
And also they have very good program in terms of horticulture and soil and agriculture, and that's also part of my interest in terms of in the nature.
So you have a lot of cultural change in your life, and you have explored a couple of areas. So what do you think is driving that curiosity in you?
I think it might come back to the first thing when you ask me what is curiosity. It's more about how I can experience different things as much as possible. So for me, I guess I don't want to get bored. So I think for me it's just more about learning different things and culture and different people.
And that brings me to the last part. You're also doing consulting work. So in other words, you're doing workshops and you're teaching other people stuff in like business consulting.
Right.
So how does that fit the equation?
So I love to work with people who start their business, like startup entrepreneurs, and so I work with them a lot. And I think, um, of course, they're very intelligent people, and I think what's fascinating to me is they're also very curious about the world and how they can contribute to the world and make a big difference or change the world somehow by starting their own business and promoting their concept or promoting their purpose or ideas or products. Um, so the consulting part really attracts me is I can combine my design backgrounds, artistic background, and the business background.
What role does curiosity play in your life then?
I think it's everything. It basically drives. It's sort of in the background, I guess. I wasn't thinking about. I'm curious about X, Y, and Z or the art, the design. But it's really that curiosity that has me, try different things and look into different world and different people to understand who they are. What it is out there. Um, it's pretty much like this driving force of everybody's life, I think.
Sophie, one last question.
Yes.
What is curiosity for you in one sentence?
I think curiosity is about making the best of where you are and just explore and understand as much as you can and enjoy the world and everything.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Oliver.
Thanks, Sophie.